Welcome to the Podfather podcast. You can find all our episodes on podfather.me. You'll find everything about me. Scan the QR code or go to icon.com where you'll see all my stuff about podcast coaching, helping podcasters, or if you want to do a podcast tour. If you're looking for virtual assistance, go to va.world. My guest, public speaking and sales coach, certified breakthrough trainer. She's the host of the Marianne Hickman show, which hence is her name. She's been on stage, I don't know, is it 2,500? I seen 2004. Either way, I'm podcasting since 2018, and I've got 1,650 episodes, and it's a lot I edit. That's a lot to be on stage. You've learned a lot being on stage that amount of times. You were on the speaking podcast, and I'll put the show notes because we had a fantastic conversation where you shared brilliant tips. So please welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much, Roy. It was so good to see you again. I love just connecting again all over the globe. It's been a blast to just get to know you and do more episodes with you. And again, I've got to have you on my show and we'll get that set up. But thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So I suppose let's just start off with your own show. Wait, I mentioned the name, but what are you covering on your podcast?
Well, so the Marianne Hickman show, it really started with just stage facilitation and teaching people how to facilitate on stage. You know, we cover things like body language, we cover tonality, we cover vocal structure. I've got a guest who knows the anatomy of the voice box. She's fantastic. Event organization, podcasting. And so it was originally very centered around stage facilitation and getting on stages, both physical stages and digital stages. But honestly, it's evolved. I have had this natural curiosity with people that I want to know and people that I want to get to know better. And so whenever I want to get to know someone, I just invite them to my podcast. I said, you're so fascinating to me. You interest me. I'm so curious about you. Come on my show and let's talk about what makes you unique, what makes you special. And I've had the most incredible conversations with people. I had Ben Kerr on my podcast. He was a Olympic wrestler who grew up in the same, no, not grew up. We lived in the same town for a little while, but he just had a movie come out about him. Absolutely incredible show. I've interviewed people that have never been interviewed on podcasts before. And that's, I don't know if I can fairly say what it's about anymore because it's about things that just interest me and make me curious and about people I want to get to know. So I've turned it from just a stage facilitation. We still talk about that, of course, into a platform that I use to introduce the most fascinating people I've met to everyone that's listening. And that's what I use it for now.
No, that's excellent. And that's what happened with my speaking one, because I started off, first of all, kind of a lot of speakers and people on stage. And sometimes I'm incorporating that, but it just became about conversations and everything. And it's like, ooh, that's interesting. And what I love is sometimes somebody will pitch you and you go, I'm curious about that. And you end up learning so much just from something that you would, I mean, even for me, I get a lot of books because I say to people, look, if you're promoting a book, send me the book. I don't want the digital copy, send me the book. And I read books that I would never buy. And I end up reading fantastic books that I thoroughly enjoy. And that's all just from the podcasting.
Oh, I did the same thing. I'm getting goosebumps with you talking about that because I just got, I like to buy the books, whatever it does for the author, a few bucks here and there. But I bought a book by Andrew Matthews down in, now I'm going to feel bad if it's not Australia or New Zealand. But he's been speaking on circuits for a couple of decades. His book has been translated into 47 different languages. And it's just called Being Happy. And he's written and illustrated the book all himself. And that, to what you're saying, I love that part of it. I have these books up here. I had Jeff Walker on my podcast and having him again next week. And that is one of my favorite things to do is find a book that I love and interview the author if I can get a hold of him and ask him about it because it just fascinates me.
And the thing is, on The Awakening, there was the first one I wanted to interview David Icke because I had seen him on the London Real Show, and I just said, oh, this guy is ahead of his, even though I'd read a book before in 1999 and I thought, nah, this guy isn't for me. I put the book down, but I picked it back up and I just reached out to him. And he didn't ask about numbers and that, and he was one of the early ones. But the other one was John Perkins' Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And I had that on my list. I wanted to get to, and I just put it out there, and eventually we got him on the group call. So I think sometimes if you want somebody, just put it out there. because when you say it, you don't know who's connected. Like I've had Mickey Willis as well. I mean, and it was basically somebody that was listening to my show that I knew from an event. And she said, I think you should have him on your show. I think he'd be brilliant. And she made an introduction and he came on the show. And I was delighted to have that. So I think if you have a specific, even the author, maybe writing doesn't always work, but sometimes just kind of do a post. Or because what we tend to do is send an email. What I've learned is I get thousands and thousands of emails. And I'm trying to unsubscribe to so many different things. The problem is I go on guests as well with some shows and people automatically subscribe. That's part of their kind of thing. I get bombarded with emails, like bombarded. But if they go to LinkedIn or something like that, they get me. And I know you have to kind of go to Instagram or something. So try a few approaches. Sometimes people think, they think I'm hassling them, but they might never see it if you're emailing them.
It's true. It's true. I got a hold of Jeff Walker through Threads, of all things. This is I don't know if you've heard of Threads. Do you?
I actually haven't found it, and I've had a guest talk about it. But to be honest with you, most of them were kind of starting. You've got something like 1290 followers, which I was like, okay, that's a lot on Threads. I mean, because I haven't seen anybody with much. So it's like you've got a lot of followers, and so I want you to touch on Threads, whether you think it's helpful for the podcaster.
Well, so I think Threads, unfortunately, has evolved. When it came out, I'd say it's almost 2 years ago. Maybe more. Maybe it's a little bit older. But when it came out, I was in a place where I said, we need to jump on any new social platform that evolves because we don't know which ones are going to take off. So just jump on it, have a presence. So I jumped on it. I created an account. That was back when they told you what number you were. So I was like the 2 millionth user of Threads or whatever. And I kind of let it die. I thought, oh my gosh, okay, it's another one. Everyone here is claiming to be an expert on Threads, but it hasn't been long enough for anyone to really become an expert yet. And nobody was there. And even the beginning threads on Threads were people saying, there's nobody here. Where is everybody? And so I kind of just let it fizzle until one day I made a Facebook post and I like to give away my podcast database, just put it out there for people to get on shows, and it's free and people just look it up and get in. So I give it away a lot. And when I posted on Facebook, Threads took the post, and I didn't know, and they cross-posted it to their platform. And I woke up one morning to my phone was going nuts, just notification. And it's all Threads people commenting on my post saying that they wanted this database that I was putting out there. And it had something like 800 comments on it. It was just going ballistic. So I started responding, and on Threads, you can't send a direct message. You have to connect it through Instagram and send it a direct message there. But I put my phone number out on Threads and had people get that podcast database through there. And then I also messaged them on Instagram. And I thought, wow, 800 comments. I only have 42 followers. That's crazy. Speaking of numbers, that's something I'm getting seen here. And so I tried it again. And for I would say about 3 to 4 months, every time I put that post out there, said, hey, I'm giving away my database again. Who wants it? I would get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments, and people would follow like crazy. And so it used to be exceptionally organic because Threads as a platform, this is my hypothesis. I think Threads was learning about us. It needed information about our use of the platform. It needed to learn how we used it, when we used it. And so when it was in that stage, it was very organic. You couldn't pre-schedule posts. You couldn't buy ad space on Threads. There was no such thing as sponsored posts. And all it did was pay attention to how you interacted with the platform and then feed you content that was relevant, or at least what it thought was relevant to your interests. It would, of course, our phones are always listening to us. So it would put content in front of you they had recently talked about around your phone. And there was some beauty in that. It was beautiful in that it was very organic. There were big celebrities and big users using the platform. They couldn't pre-schedule. They couldn't post from another device. So you knew it was them, which was amazing. And it was live in that moment. And then recently Threads said, oh, guess what? You can pre-schedule posts now, and now you can buy sponsor space. And so it's, for me, kind of lost part of what we all loved about it was just the organic real-time live connection. I still use it, of course, but I miss those days. I miss the days of early Threads when it was raw, fresh, and organic, and it was catered to the user because nothing was pre-programmed and they didn't know enough about us to leverage that against us. So it's still a platform I'm using. I'm still seeing if I can bring some of that organic traffic back. I'm still experimenting to see which posts do well. I do find that when you're funny, it goes farther. The TSA, I follow the TSA of all people. Roy, I follow the TSA, the police on there, and they are hilarious. They post stuff that you shouldn't be posting in your carry-ons. It's so funny. YouTube is hilarious on there too. So that's what I'm kind of learning. I struggle because I'm not a comedy person naturally. I like to laugh, but I'm not quipping out jokes every 2 seconds. But it's a platform I'm still experimenting with. I'll just say that. It's new enough, but I still like it a little bit.
I mean, since we're on the social media, like your YouTube, you have a very successful YouTube channel, and it's close to 4 million views, and I don't know, is it something like 44.5 thousand followers, which is incredible. And
oh, thank you.
I mean, I've mastered the podcast side of things. I know I've got million, but the video, it's like I'm really trying to do everything with it, and I get the search engine optimization right, and I'm doing all the titles, and this is 84 out of 100, and I go, this is going to take off. I was like, 25. You're going, what? And then the team blasts out something, and they put the hashtag instead of the thing by mistake, and it gets way more, and you're like, what? It's like if you go into the vidIQ, it's like saying it's terrible. Yet it totally outperforms stuff that I get. And so obviously you've got experience with YouTube. What can you tell? Not just me, but I think 99% of the listeners are probably struggling with this one as well.
Well, YouTube is another one. It's been around for a while. And that's why I say if you can early adopt something, do, because you're going to have history and longevity on the platform. Now, I'm not the most popular person on YouTube. I have a friend that started her channel after I did, and she's got more subscribers than I did. And so I can share what I know, but I will also say that other people are probably more successful on this. I have a friend who, his name was Grant Thompson. His wife is Janae Thompson. He passed away a few years ago, but he was one of the top 10 YouTubers of all time. And he had something like 13 million subscribers on YouTube. So I'll share some things that I have learned raw and real from my channel, but also share what I have learned from Grant that I'm also implementing. I'm not arrived yet. I'm still learning things. So the first thing is a YouTube channel is, I would say that most consumers use YouTube as an alternate form of college and an alternate form of television. And what those two things have in common is consistency. Meaning, if you're going to produce content, we need to treat it like a pre-planned out college class where we can be reliable, we show up regularly, people can expect our content, and TV stations are the same way. Imagine if you're watching your favorite show. What's one of my favorite shows right now? We're going back to NYPD Blue. It's an old one, so we're watching that one right now. But imagine if your show had stopped producing episodes in the middle of the season and without warning, and they didn't tell you when they were going to be back, and you would lose trust in that show. Same thing with your college professors. If someday they just stopped showing up to class, you would wonder where they were. And if they just ghosted you, you probably wouldn't check in on them unless they reached back out to you. So when you're starting a YouTube channel, I would plan, if you're just starting, to record at least 20 pieces of content, 20 videos, and have those in the hopper, ready to go on a pre-production schedule so that you have those 20, whether you're producing once a week or once a month, you have those on your production schedule. So while those are being produced, you can record your next batch of those. And I like to say you can always increase in frequency, but decreasing in your frequency is exceptionally hard on your audience. So start with something once a month. You can commit to 12 videos a year. Start with something once a month that you release. And if you get a backlog of content, now you can increase to twice a month or maybe once every 6 weeks. You can always increase, but you can't decrease. So that's what I would say with YouTube. The other thing is batch recording. Now, I'm sure you do this. I do this as well. If you could, what I did when I first started to get my YouTube really strong in content is I would take a day every month and I would fill up my water bottle and I would pack my lunch and I would drink all the tea and I would have all the soup with me because it was filming day. And I would spend that entire day in the studio, 8 hours. And I would have, this is what Grant taught me. Grant was also a pilot. So he made a pre-flight plan or a pre-video plan for every video. He would know what the intro was. He would know what the 3 pieces of content were. He would know what the outro was. He would understand the publishing day. He would know the title of the video and have all of those ready for filming day. So you'd be filming for 8 hours. This is a tip that I learned from Andy Elliott. When you are naming your YouTube videos, YouTube and Google, they're besties. They do everything together. Whenever you type into Google search, what you're going to find, like if I type in, how do I become a better speaker? If you look at these results, you're going to see the sponsored is the first 2 or the first 4. You're going to get your AI overview. You're going to get Reddit. You're going to get people also ask. You're going to get something from Harvard University. And then the next 4 answers are YouTube videos. They show up on the front page. So when you create your content, even your podcasts, if you're a podcast host, name your title of your video a how do I, or how to make it the question that people are typing into Google, because if it matches, Google will push your YouTube content for you so that you get found in organic searches. That the first 3 that came up on YouTube, now I got to do more content because it's not me, but they're all YouTube essentials on how to be a better public speaker. And if you are asking, you have a specific piece of content or a specific niche, type in that YouTube or that question into Google, go to the YouTube videos. And if yours isn't in the top, like sometimes mine don't show up in the top, I'm going to watch those videos and then do my version of the same video. I'm not going to copy, I'm not going to plagiarize, but I'm going to ask, how would I answer this question the same way this most popular YouTube video answers it, and then produce it and put it out there. So that's my top YouTube tricks.
Well, that's something with even the podcasting that I kind of learned, because sometimes I used to have the person's name and then kind of like a title, and then I'd have episode and all this, and then I've got mixed reactions from this, but I mean, because obviously you see Joe Rogan, and he's got number but he was famous from the start anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But
he can do whatever he wants.
It's kind of like if you do a search, does that come up? And then some people are saying it doesn't really do it, but I'm really checking with the title. Sometimes I'll have the title and everything, and a lot of the time it doesn't have the person's name. I have the name underneath the thing, but if the results is a lot higher without the name, go for the thing. Like definitely for the podcast, it's working. It's like I got good numbers on the podcasting, haven't figured it out for the YouTube. But one of the things, because I've had a few different people, and I'm playing with this now at the moment, is the scheduling, because they're saying that when it goes out and figures out who it's going to, when you have a schedule, it starts working on that straight away. And I'm thinking that could be right, because my team does the shorts, they schedule it. So they kind of put it for the week, they have it all organized and everything. Whereas I'm kind of like, I laid it our episode and then I just kind of, then it goes out, I put it on the different things. But so no, I'm playing with that as well. I'm giving it like, I'm not doing it for like, but I'm giving it like 2 hours. I'm just seeing, will it make a difference? But it's strange that all these little things can make a difference.
Oh, I never thought about the scheduling, but you're right. If it's on the internet, even if it's pending, the people that collect the data are probably collecting data on it already, and that's going to set you up better. I never thought of that. And here's the thing with any social media, with your threads, with your YouTube, with your podcast, whatever you're doing, there's so much, isn't there? There's your title, your thumbnails, your hashtags, your scheduling time, blah, 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 blah. Many podcasters will get overwhelmed with all of this instead of the fun part, which is actually the podcasting, that they won't do it. So if there's any piece of advice unsolicited that I would say is, don't get too caught up in it. Don't stop yourself because there's so much. Just go out there, do the fun stuff. If you're having fun, you're going to keep doing it. So do the fun stuff. And if you want to play with the metrics and learn a little bit, yeah, do that. But don't let the overwhelming amount of reasons and ways to get your podcast seen, or the likes and views, which you and I talked about, the numbers are probably fudged anyway, that you stop. That's the biggest danger. I have a friend who has 3 million followers on TikTok. She started a podcast, amazing podcast with her husband. They got 6 episodes in and stopped. And it's a tragedy because I love their show. Now they're doing lots of things and maybe the podcasting isn't for them. But Joe Rogan says this. He says, don't start a podcast unless you commit to doing 2,000 episodes. Don't start a podcast unless you commit to doing 2,000 episodes, because the starting and the stopping of the thing, it does so much damage to your sense of self, to your sense of accomplishment, to your sense of personal ability. Can I do something? Oh no, I failed, blah, blah, blah. Don't start something unless you plan on, quote unquote, finishing it. And I think that's really great advice.
It's interesting what you said about TikTok, because I've seen so many people famous on a lot of different things. And then they'll think, oh, I'll do the TikTok. And they just assume that they're going to get millions of listeners, that everyone's coming over. And it's like, everyone stays in their own lane because that's why they like that platform, and they don't. But what they could have done is just repurpose the content and put it on TikTok, and then it'd get people across. But most people, they have their own kind of creative ideas, and they don't think of it from, say, the podcaster side.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Interesting about podcasts and YouTube. We put our podcast on YouTube because you're right. We want to capture anyone where they are. I'm not very active on certain platforms. I'm not on Lemonade very much. I have an account, but I'm not on there very much. I post content, but I'm not replying to all of my comments on Lemonade just because I'm not there. I prefer to stay on YouTube and Instagram. But even in
heard of Lemonade? No, what's Lemonade? That's a new one to me. What's Lemonade?
It's a new one. It's kind of like they've taken Pinterest and Twitter maybe and made a baby out of them. It's just a new thing. I'm not sure why it's there, but whatever. It might be the new thing. I'm an early adopter. But to your point of, people stay on their platform, you'll find the people that open up their phone and TikTok is the first thing that they check. That's what they do. And then you'll find the people that YouTube is the first thing they check. And then you'll find the people that Instagram. So I think, in my opinion, it's good to be out there on wherever people can find you, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's TikTok or wherever it might be. But I have found, again, I can get obsessive if I'm checking all the numbers and metrics on every platform all day long. It becomes a grind. And I don't do that. If you respond to me on TikTok, it's going to be a month before I see your comment. It just is, because my content is repurposed from YouTube and I'm sharing it on TikTok, and maybe you'll come to me on YouTube. And if you're trying to get a hold of me on TikTok, you better bug me in my email and my Instagram, just like Ro was saying, everywhere else, because I don't check that every day, even though I post there. So I'm not the expert because I haven't mastered it, right? But I am learning a lot every day.
And I think, because a load of people, they do get overwhelmed, and then sometimes they'll go, oh, I like this one, say YouTube or whatever, and they stick to it. And I'm exactly like yourself. I look at a load. I'm an early adapter for loads of things. That's why I have my name where I call in on, say, even LinkedIn and Facebook and everything, because I've been an early adapter for a load of stuff. But Instagram didn't work for me. I still have the accounts, but I don't put energy into it because it was like not for me. But TikTok, I was playing around with it, and then I had one channel and I'm heavily censored. So then I got removed and I kept asking them for my data. But 6 months later, they gave it back. So now I have 2 channels that are doing okay. And I said, I want to start the Polish one because I can't really put my Polish one with the ones that I'm sharing the other stuff, because I can put something about the crypto and the awakening and stuff, because they're all kind of interesting kind of clips that I have. And before I started off, nothing. Then I got a couple of thousand, then nothing. And I was like, will I do this? And I just started tweaking it. So then I started putting in the show notes, whereas normally I just have the title and keep it simple. The hashtags, I've played around with that. It doesn't work. But I've just said I'll keep at it. And with all the different things, I think you have to remove the ones that get to 0, because I think it hurts you and it doesn't look great. Like, I can get some that's like, 7,000 or whatever, and out of 0. I can have a whole shot of shorts, 10, 20 shorts, 000. And then I go, I don't get this. I put out the next batch, they're all 800. And it's, but I'm just constantly kind of looking at it and tweaking it and everything. And I've got total now, I've like 800, not 1,000. So my target now is to try to get to 1 million by the end of July. And I think I can do it. But it's like, that one seems to work because I get engagement and I can see comments and stuff like that. But I think as soon as you realize this isn't serving me, don't put your energy into it. Put your energy into the one that you think you can start making working for yourself.
Well, and that requires, like you said, a lot of iteration to continue producing and continue producing. I think about it in terms of the great masters. I'm talking like Beethoven or Mozart or Picasso or these masters that everyone knows Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Everyone, like bum 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 bum, like everyone knows that. Even if you're not classically trained, we know this. But do you know how many pieces of music Beethoven produced? I don't even know the number, but it's way more than just the one that we all know. Do you know how many pieces that Mozart or Tchaikovsky produced? And yet we know Tchaikovsky for the Nutcracker. That's his pièce de résistance. It's his one. And we were talking about Alex Hormozi earlier. He called this the Jingle Bells effect. Now, I can't remember the author or the musician's name who wrote Jingle Bells, but he composed hundreds of other pieces of music. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of other pieces of music. And we don't know any of them. But his one piece that he produced, and he never would have known that would be the one to, quote unquote, go viral. But you and I both know this, and we are on opposite ends of the world. Every country has its own version of Jingle Bells, playing from the stereo and playing from the in the house and on their playlists at home. It's his one piece that took off, but he didn't know it. He didn't know it would. And so when you and I produce content as a podcaster, if you're producing content, you just don't know which one is going to take. My own daughter, oh my gosh, she cracks me up. She's 19. She just had her birthday. And she is a little bit on Instagram, but she uses Instagram just to tell stories of her life and share pictures of her kids and family and so forth. She made this video about the crumb tray of her toaster. Roy, she's got 4 million views on this silly little crumb tray thing. Now, she didn't know there was a crumb tray in her toaster. And I messaged her about it. I was like, what are you doing with this video? It's got 4 million views. This has been looked at by 4 million people. Who knows how many times? And she's like, I don't know. I'm not doing anything with it. I don't even look at it anymore. We just don't know. We don't know what's going to take off. So that means keep producing. If it goes zero, fine. Produce something else. Produce it in a different way. Produce it with a different outfit on. You just don't know what's going to catch. And that means do not give up.
And I had the girl, I think it was called the Kind video. It was like where you were doing something, there was a knock-on effect, and that got multiple millions. And like most people would have known this video when you see it, she couldn't replicate it. She was trying to do it. So, and there's a load of people out there that are trying to say, we will do it. So that's something to be aware as well for the podcasters listening. There's loads of people that kind of tell you they can do this. All you do is look at what they're done themselves, because if they can do videos like that, you will see all their videos is like that, and they don't. And just look at their stats and everything, because there's so many people, they're going, for $6,000 I can do this, and they're just putting their hand out pretending they can do everything. So they have to be careful of people like that.
Yeah, I invested $5,000 in a program or a media specialist, a marketer that said they could do that, and they had a great videographer. The videos looked really good. And they said they could make me go viral, but I had questions when I looked at their account, and it wasn't viral. And that made me a little bit concerned, but I thought, well, maybe they don't do it for themselves. Maybe they do it for just other people. And I will say that a couple of videos did okay, but they didn't go viral. And even if they do, here's the question. If your video goes viral, just like my daughter with her crumb tray, what are you going to do with it? Do you have a way that can mean something for you? Because I got to tell you, I don't care if my videos go viral, if it doesn't support my business, if it doesn't bring in new customers. I mean, I don't care if I have 7 million views. It doesn't mean anything to me, because the views don't always translate to revenue. And if we don't have revenue as podcast hosts, we can't keep doing our podcast.
And I don't know, are you familiar with the crowd? They do Goal. So they talk about somebody and they're showing their story from heart. Like, you pay 30 grand, it could be more now, it could be 50 grand. I know people that have paid for that. And they could probably put a certain percentage of that into the marketing budget. So people think that was done organically for them and they created it, but someone have to pay it. The same with I know people that are in kind of Entrepreneur of the Year, Woman of the Year in Forbes. They paid for it. There's a load of that.
Yep. Yep,
You know,
it's true.
so just be careful out there, what you're seeing and everything. And yeah, is it grand bragging rights? Oh, look at me, and if you can move on it, but just be aware you're competing with people that are doing it that way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can buy a spot in Forbes. You can buy a spot in Yahoo News. You can buy a spot, the top 10 entrepreneurs of 2025. They're not the top 10 entrepreneurs. They're the top 10 people who paid for the spot.
Exactly. So, who were you hosting your show with?
Oh, I just host it with me. So I'm a solo hoster. My husband produces it, so he's my hero on the back end and gets everything pushed out there. So I do solo episodes where I just teach. I call them the talk tips. So it's just me for 20 minutes explaining something about the stage, and then I do guesting episodes where I bring in all of my beautiful, just like we're doing right here, just amazing guests that I'm so curious about that I love. But I don't have a co-host, and a lot of the time it's just me behind the camera.
And what platform do you have your RSS feed with then?
Oh, I do it everywhere. So I've got Spotify.
But who's the main one? Because the main one would blast it out. Like I have Spotify is with a lot of mine.
Oh, yeah.
Podbean. So who's the one that you uploaded it that blasts it? Which platform is that?
So I think Spotify is my syndicator. So Spotify will push it out to iHeartRadio and to Apple Podcasts and to all of that. And we also post on YouTube because we want the video content out there as well. And we have the channel monetized and so forth. Spotify was funny. Speaking of numbers, we got our recap. Did you get this with Spotify? They do like a producer recap. They have a listener recap for your top listened music, but they also do for creators like you and me. They do a recap
At the end of the year where they're saying how many followers and things like that. That's great. Yeah.
So we got one. This was crazy since our Spotify RSS feed is video for our podcast. Spotify told us that we were in the top 25% of podcasts on all of Spotify as a video podcaster. And I don't know if that was just a feel good number that they sent us to make us, happy and keep using their platform or not, but that was kind of a cool thing to see. And it's cool for our guests to see as well, because all the guests, they like to know that their time on the podcast is well spent and it's getting out there and so forth. So that's our main one. Spotify does all the pushing for us, and then we also post it on YouTube.
And just for those that might be thinking of starting, like there's a lot of them. Spotify, like you can go directly to Apple or set it up through it. But the iHeartRadio, a lot of them, you just go in and you log it, give the number, and then it does it automatically. But as soon as I hear of a new one, I'm going in doing it and it blasts it out. And regarding that end of year thing, like when I get that, sometimes you're looking at it and you're going, you're number one podcast for say like 1,000 people. And I go, that's incredible. Like there's a place of people that's like, I'm the number one podcast. And then it's in for the top 5, there's so many thousand, and then the top. And it's just a lovely feeling. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I enjoy podcasts. But it's like, I kind of never kind of think it. I know people listen, but I never thought I'd be their number one podcast, with the different sectors. And it's a lovely thing to see.
It really is. And especially when, this is what I want to say about views. We all know that we want them to translate to revenue. And then we judge ourselves. This one only got 1,000 views. It only got 42 or whatever. Think of it this way. If you're feeling down because you're comparing your views to what you think they should be or what you think somebody else's views are, imagine if let's just say 42 views. Your episode gets 42 views and you're shaming yourself. Oh, I only got 42. Imagine if 42 people came up to your house and started knocking on the door. And they said, I want to listen to what you have to say. Can I watch your episode? Can I watch you film this one? Those are 42 individual and different souls. When we stop thinking about the numbers and start thinking about them as people, that becomes really meaningful really quickly.
And like what I tell people, and it's very similar, but I say, because you're a public speaker and you've been on stage, I like Toastmasters. If you go into a room, there's 20 people there, or even 10, you're happy. Like, cause some people, they're delighted to come into a room and speak to 20. And I've even been working with people and I want millions of downloads. And you're going, when did you ever speak on a stage in front of millions of people? Like, and they don't get it. They just think of it differently.
Yeah.
Like you have to remember every single number is a person. And if you're doing it right, and sometimes people, they give up because of the numbers. They think, God, this isn't worth it. Instead of thinking, even if it's 20, there's 20 people that are constantly coming back. And eventually just, you'll see it. I mean, you see it with a lot of them. Sometimes something happens. I mean, there's times I'd be on different platforms, Feed, Spot or something. There's a lot. And they'd put me on the charts and they say #1 in the crypto podcast. I'm like, oh, that's good. And actually you see the numbers and the followers and everything. You just don't know when something's going to happen. You know, it's so,
Yeah.
just keep at it. And once you enjoy it is the most important thing.
And I think to your point, that you nailed it right on the head. If you're enjoying it, that is the most important thing, because you can tell. You can tell when we're in the audience and a speaker is on stage and they're not enjoying it because the room isn't as full as they want it to be, or there was some drama backstage or whatever it is. We can tell. I've just made a post yesterday or the day before about it, learning from an employee at a fast food drive-through about enjoying what you're doing. And this was 7 years ago, maybe more, when I was dropping off a puppy at a friend's house. And as I was driving home, I was like, I need to get a sandwich. I'm starving. I'm hungry. I go through the drive-through, and the person on the megaphone, you know, the little kiosk thing, their voice came through. And Roy, I could tell they were so excited. They said, hey, welcome to Arby's. We're so glad you're here. Tell me what sandwich that you're looking for. If there's anything else I can get you, I'll be waiting right here for you. And the energy of what they said, just, it was like a burst of sunshine hit me. And I pulled up to the window after I made my order, and they were so excited. It was like their favorite thing to hand me my sandwich and the drink through the window and take the credit card and tap it. And they were thrilled. And I thought to myself, you work at fast food. I'm not trying to judge, but there are plenty of people that work in fast food just to make the dime and then go on to the next best thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I can tell that you love what you do. You are loving what you're doing. Even if it's just today, you're enjoying handing me my food. And so I will go back to that restaurant and look for them every time I'm in the area because they love what they do so much. And that was a lesson for me. Am I showing up in my home with my children? Do they get that feeling that I love what I'm doing as a mother? Am I showing up that way on my podcast, that the people listening and the people that I'm talking to, can they tell that I love what I'm doing? Do I show up that way in my marriage? When my husband can tell that I love being his wife, and I am so excited to be there like the day he proposed. It was one of the most valuable lessons that I didn't learn from a motivational speaker. I learned it from an Arby's employee.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I mean, I tap into energy a lot. And even if I'm going, like there's a Chinese that's near us now, and they're all so lovely. You go in and there's a smile. And like my youngest child, he's 11. And like they're just smiling away at him. They give him a little little sweet, and always they're just, and you just, I'm convinced that the energy goes into the food, and you've got a positive people. The cooking, they're all just smiling and they're saying hello, Jen. They really care. Whereas you're going to somewhere else and you just see depression and they're just giving out to each other, and it's like, no, I'm not going there. And I can feel it on myself. I never feel bad from this place. And it's like, I don't. I think a lot of it comes down to energy. And it's the same as you say on the stage. I've seen that. I've seen where people are there. They don't want to be there. And it's like, you just know it. And there's others, it could be half full. And they make it feel like there's 4 times the people in the audience just by the way that they lift everyone up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you're going to have more fun doing your podcast if you have the energy, if it excites you to be there. And I get it. Sometimes we're not always at our peak state. We're not always at our highest point. But this is going to get okay. You'll understand this because you're into the energy just like me. So when I do live events, oftentimes I'm invited to come in and do a morning meditation where we make sure they have breakfast, and so we feed their bodies, and then we're going to feed their minds and we're going to feed their hearts, and we get really grounded and we get very present. And I asked the audience, I learned this at a Tony Robbins event, and I've repeated it because it's so powerful. I asked the audience to remember a time when they felt so happy, it made them laugh so hard, it made tears come down their face, it made them pee their pants, it made all of the plumbing go leaky, and they were so happy, and they were so thrilled, and they were laughing so hard. And then I asked them to turn it up and to magnify it so that by the time they're feeling it, they're remembering it so well that they're actually laughing again, and they're smiling again. They can experience it again. And I say, okay, now what I want you to do is grab in your mind a little bottle. And I want you to put that feeling in a bottle. And I want you to put that bottle in your pocket so that whenever you're needing a boost, whenever you need to feel that feeling again, I want you to grab into your pocket, grab that bottle, uncork it, and drink from it. Because that energy is still there. And as much as we forget it, energy is a choice. It is. It's something we get to choose. It's the best gift God ever gave us, is the ability to choose, because these things, we often can feel like they happen to us. Energy happens to us. People make us happy or people make us sad. No, we chose that. We chose that, and we can choose it whenever we need to. And sometimes having that little imaginary bottle in your pocket is just the key that people need.
Oh, excellent. So one of the things I want to touch on is I see that you've got your kind of program, your speaking thing on Skool. And so some people are trying to create something, and I think it's a good way. I'm looking now at transferring my stuff, because I've been looking at it for a lot, and I'm on a few different platforms with the Skool thing, and I think it's brilliant. But for community and just kind of generating some income, you might just touch on your experience and how you'd encourage people perhaps to get involved with Skool.
Well, the reason I got with Skool is because Alex Hormozy is pushing it for free. He's basically doing your advertising for you for free, because he's sending people to Skool. He's a part owner in the company, so it makes sense. So again, early adoption, back to that. When I saw that Alex was pushing Skool, I looked into it. I didn't really understand it at first. I was like, what is this thing? It looks like glorified Facebook groups, but I don't get it. And so I played with it a little bit and I got familiar with it. I spent the time, I didn't give up. And I created my community in Skool. And at first it was free because I was just gathering people. They're like, come in, let me experiment. We're going to figure this out together. And then I put a paywall up in front of it because the content started to get way more valuable and the people started to get way more high end in that community. So I said, I put a paywall in front of it. It's really inexpensive. It's like $50 a month. And so I have people come in and I teach them, and I put training modules in there, and I'm constantly adding new content in there and training people how to speak on stage and training them how to get more stages and putting them. I even advocate for people, and I'm an agency for placing people on different podcasts. And so when this community started to get more valuable, we again put that paywall up, and we started helping people get their communities going. Because when I train public speakers, and typically those public speakers have their own audiences. So I always tell them, you should have your own community. You should own your own. You should bring your people together. Because my mission, it's to put a megaphone up to the mouths of people whose messages I can get behind, which means people are going to follow them, which made it a really intelligent model for me as far as the affiliates go, because Alex Hormozy has created a very generous affiliate program. So monetarily, it pays for itself. Originally, if you want to create your own group on Skool, it's $99. But if you have people creating groups with your own code, that pays you. You get a commission on that. So it's a very smart business model, but it's also a very tight-knit community. I'm in my community daily. I'm posting daily in my community. And whenever I train my people, we meet 4 times a week. I encourage them to go and post their wins. I encourage them to go and post about their events. The thing that I don't like about Facebook groups, not all of them, most of them, is that the hosts of the groups have seen enough bad apples of people passing through that they don't allow for much connection in their groups. They don't allow for much promotion in their groups. And it's because some people have taken advantage of it. I get it. But I've created a community where that's welcome. As long as you're not spamming and making people uncomfortable, please talk about your events. Tell us about what you're doing. Tell us about the podcast that you're on. Tell us when you start a podcast. Tell us when, invite everybody to come and support you and be with you. And that's the kind of community I've fostered. If people come in, I do have the occasional person that's buy my HVAC services and they don't contribute. They just ask and then I kick them out. But it's a place where people can come, they can grow, they can learn, they can invite other people to their events. And it's one of my favorite places to be, because it's also a place where I can go in and show up and be vulnerable and say, this is what I learned. I had a crash and burn yesterday. I want to help you learn from it. So here's what happened and here's what I did with it. And a community is so important. And here's what I say. If you're starting a community, there's 2 models. There's model number 1, which is the guru-centric model, which means I am the boss. I know everything. You're all here to make me feel better, and you're all here to learn from me, and I'm the only one that can teach. And that is a very fragile model, because once you make someone angry, and you will, they are going to leave the community, because their only tie to the community is the guru. And that's a very, very fragile model. The stronger model is to create a community-centric community, which means they're there. Maybe they come because of you, but they stay because of the other people. They stay because they value their connection with this other person, or maybe 3 other people. So one day when they get mad at you or something they say, because they will, and you're not perfect, just like the rest of us, they can tolerate it because they are so deeply connected with the other people in the group that they stick around. That's the kind of model that I have done my best to foster in our community.
And just from one of the guys that he's been on my show on the Awakening a lot of times, and he's actually created a video on how to use the platform. And I mean, I've watched it because he said he saw the one that they did, that Skool does, and he said, "No, I can do better." So he done it 20 minutes, and I was like, "Oh, this is good." And he's basically, you can do chatting and everything, because sometimes if, like, for example, if you're talking about something that people don't agree with, but so if people can go into Skool and do that, you're not going to be attacked, because sometimes people are they're quitting because there's abuse on different. I mean, whether it's something being sprayed or whatever. I mean, you can get a freedom of information proving it, but yet you let people attack. I mean, I'm tough skinned, so it doesn't bother me. But when you're in a community like that, you're not going to get the same. You're going to get people that are kind of on your side, and then they're kind of sharing information to say, how can we change this? And just curious with the affiliates, because you mentioned if you get people that start their own community. I know the guy, Peter Wilson's his name, Checkmate the Matrix, so it's a good one as well on the thing. And his kind of one is like an affiliate system for his program. Do you have it that you can have it both for an affiliate system for someone that decides to set up their own school, or if they decide to bring in people into you? You can have both, yeah?
Yeah, I've set it up both ways. And that was a new release that Alex just put out maybe 6 months ago, to affiliate referrals for your group. So as soon as he did that, I jumped on the call and I set that up right away so that when people, refer people to me or in my group, they get paid to do it. And Skool has been so intelligent about how they set that up, as far as I don't have to pay out the referrals. Skool does that, and they handle all of the tax forms and all of that. So it's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I set that up, and people can get paid. And that is also something that helps with your retention. So if you're starting a Skool community, and you have members, and those members bring in other members, the original members get paid when they bring in new people in, but only as long as they stay in your group. If they leave your group, they don't get those continued commissions anymore. So some people will leave a Skool community if they are not inspired by it, or maybe they don't use it very much anymore. They won't leave if they're getting paid. And that shouldn't be the only reason they stay, just to be fair, but it does help with retention.
Yeah, no, and so basically what happens there then, because I mean, I've set up affiliate systems, and a lot of them are hard to do, and a lot of them, they don't work very well and everything. But I'm assuming in a situation like that, then you're just getting the full amount instead of it going to if they were getting, like, say, a couple of layers deep or whatever. Yeah, so it is. And
yeah,
I'm just curious because I'm actually, and maybe there's other people as well, because sometimes people have their finger in a few little pots. Because what I'm thinking is, obviously, I've got a lot of content with the different things. Can you set up separate groups under your own platform, or do you just put everything on it? Because my fear is that, I mean, I can have, like, say, the Polish stuff with some training on that, and then on all the different things. But must I set up all different groups and pay the $99 for each one, or is there ways of actually having different things in it?
Well, that's a good question. So I think it's worth experimenting. You do have to pay $99 for every new group that you create. But like you said, you've put out your name as a brand out there. So you might try, creating a group. And if you're listening and you've done something similar with your brand, and you have multiple interests like I do, you could do it this way. You have one group that is your name. That's you. So that when people look it up, they find you. And then within your group, you can have different modules in the classroom, and Skool has a classroom that you can set up. So when you go into the classroom, you can set up free modules that people get just because they're a member. You can set up modules that people access once they reach a certain participation level in the group. And then you can have modules that people purchase separately. And when people purchase that separate module, that doesn't cost you anything. That's just money that goes right into your pocket. So maybe you could try, rather than creating 7 different groups, you create one group, and in your classroom, you have different modules that people can pay to access. when they come into the group. And now I don't know if they have set up monthly recurring for that. I think it's a one-time purchase within the module setup. But that's a way to keep everything and probably, I would say, get a better portion of the payment when they come into the group. But it's worth experimenting. It's worth trying. You could do both. You could say, I have my one big group and you pay to access this module. And then I did an experiment where I created another group and I'm going to see which one creates more traffic, because there's pros and cons. If I have one big group and I have paid modules inside, one, it's not monthly recurring modules. And two, those modules are only visible to the people that are already within the group. When you create a separate group, yes, it does cost you $99 extra a month, but that group is searchable, whereas a module inside of another group is kind of hidden. This group could be exposed to more people. So it's worth an A/B split test, I would say.
Okay. And just curious, because like say with Podpage, I have my podcast on that, and I basically went through the whole lot, finding all the tabs and everything. Then they moved everything, and I was like, oh jeez. And then they moved it back again with changes again, and it's like, hey, I don't use all the features, but I've used a lot of them. How easy is it? Because there's some platforms, they're simple and they give you the right training, and it's like, oh, I get this. Because it's better that you control it yourself than outsourcing something like that, because one, you'd be kind of daily interacting with it. Is it something that's easy to do, or does it take a lot of time to kind of get it set up and get right?
Well, easy is relative, right? I will say that the Skool platform has a very intelligent user interface. It's not difficult to find things, but you do have to get familiar with it. I found it very simple to navigate, but I have other mentors that where technology is not their specialty. And they do prefer to hire it out and say, I don't know how to do this. I have trouble finding the shift button on my keyboard. Can someone else please do this for me? And that's okay. But if you have basic computer skills, I would say Skool is a very, very intelligently designed user interface. And the other thing I love about it is this: most Skool users are part of the Skoolers community that is owned by Alex Hormozi and Sam Ovens. And Sam is in that group regularly and listens to and implements feedback. If I have one thing to say about Skool, it is that the creators and the designers and the software programmers, they listen to their community. They listen to their people. And when they design something and implement it, it is more often than not because of the user requests. So that's something that you can't say about every community. I mean, I don't know that Facebook, I'm still struggling with Facebook that they'll put the unread messages at the top. It seems very basic to me to do this. Skool, on the other hand, will say, oh, enough people are saying this, let's design it, let's do it. It's something that is, it's very easy. And to add on top of that, so many people are using Skool and they've done just what you've said of, okay, Skool created this tutorial video, but I think I could do it better. So I'm going to put this out there. There's so much YouTube content to support the utility of Skool that you're going to be hard pressed not to find what you need.
Excellent. Just what other kind of software are you using? I suppose maybe just kind of like for your podcast, is there other software that you're using that kind of is helping you?
Oh, 100%. And I'm not a tech nerd, but I do have a good appreciation for a robust piece of software. So this is, first of all, I have to complain. I'm going to vent a little bit. We said we don't complain, but sometimes I do. I have experienced many different customer relationship management softwares, CRMs, in other words. I used Infusionsoft. They were made fun of so much. People called them Confusionsoft. And then they rebranded to Keep because they didn't like the nickname, but they didn't change any of the interface. It was not intuitively based. I've used HubSpot. I've used MailChimp. I've used, I can't even think of all the ones I've used, but my husband and I settled in on one piece of software that pretty much does it all. And now you have to respect my husband's opinion on this because he's a computer forensic analyst. And he knows, he's the one that proved Snapchat doesn't delete your photos about 15 years ago. So he's brilliant with this stuff. And we both agreed on Go High Level, and we own an agency level of this. And we love Go High Level because it eliminates all of the cost of these other softwares because it does everything. It even hosts communities much like Skool does. And so we are actually cloning our Skool community into Go High Level. We're going to keep Skool because, again, Alex is doing the promotion for us. but we're going to clone our own version into Go High Level, which allows us to customize a bunch of things and customize an app and so forth. But the reason we love this is, number one, it does everything for us. But number two, when people come into our membership and our program, we can give them access to Go High Level, which now makes, back to our quick discussion about why are views worthless unless you're converting them. What this software allows us to do is allows us to, whenever people speak on stage, whenever they appear on a podcast, whenever they're posting on social media, whether their stage is physical or digital, this software allows us to have our speakers give something away that's valuable. The software delivers the giveaway, whether it's a database or whether it's a book or whether it's whatever it might be. And now the software is collecting the contact information from that viewer or that prospect or that follower or whatever, because we have to get their email to deliver the stuff, right? And now all of the customer's information is in our software, and we can continue to feed them and nurture them. And I don't like doing what you talked about with stuffing email boxes with useless stuff. We're all of us are over that. It's not helpful. But I do like delivering real valuable content. In fact, every time we put out a podcast, we record it and we distribute it to our entire email list. Every Sunday we drop it and we're like, hey, we just dropped another episode. We're not asking anything. We're not saying, sign up for this. We're not promoting a product. We're just saying, here's an episode. Here's the questions it's answered. Here's why I love it so much. Go check it out. And what that does is it drives interested people back to the podcast. But this crazy thing started to happen that we didn't anticipate. When we started pushing out those emails, our CRM, our software started giving us notifications. Oh, this person made a purchase. This person bought your mini course. This person bought this. And I was like, how? We didn't post about it. We didn't put a link in the email or anything. And so we went in and looked. And in the software, it says your email blast about your podcast. People clicked the link to your website just at the bottom in the signature. And they went to your website and they bought something. And we were like, we made hundreds of dollars almost on accident. Of course, we had to work hard to create the courses. But that email, even though we didn't ask, maybe it was a reminder for them to go buy something they've been meaning to buy, and they would have forgotten about it otherwise. It's so valuable for us to collect information that people want to give us. We're not buying lists or anything like that. That genuine, authentic connection is extremely important to us. I know as many people on my email list as I possibly can. And then when we give something so valuable, like a podcast episode, that makes them want to click a link and go buy something, we didn't plan on it. It was by accident, but it was amazing to see. So that's the piece of software. In answer to your question, that's a long answer. That's the piece of software that we love so much that we advocate it for everyone that we come in contact with.
Excellent. And just finally, AI, because, you can incorporate it for a lot of different things. What are you using AI for?
Oh boy, I just made an Instagram post about AI and ChatGPT in particular, how there's a study at MIT that discovered that AI is causing brain atrophy. Did you see that?
We actually talked about it on our show on The Awakening this week, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a danger, I think, to using AI. Do I still use it? Absolutely, I do. But it doesn't do my job for me. What we primarily use AI for is generating code to program into our CRM. So if we need a button to have a certain function, we go to AI and say, I need this button to do this thing. Will you please write the code for it? And then we take the code and we go program it in and we test it. I used to use AI to write my emails, but I got so many times of embark on a journey, blah, 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 that I couldn't stand it anymore. It wasn't my voice. It was lacking soul. It was lacking a lot of things. So I will use AI for bouncing ideas off of, and then I'll go implement those ideas, or I'll go write the emails. I'll use AI for code generation. My husband does most of that. I'll even use AI for my vision board. So I did it for my garden yesterday. I said, okay, I took a picture of my garden. I sent it to the AI and I said, I planted these seeds here and I planted these seeds here. Tell me what it's going to look like in 6 months. Or, hey, AI, I live in this area. I live in this zone. I need drought tolerant plants. Give me some ideas for what I can plant in this area. And I do the same thing for, this launch book that Jeff Walker wrote. I said, I need to implement this formula into an email sequence. Can you help me with an outline? And then I'll go in and put my own lipstick on it and make corrections, because AI, it's like when you make copies of a copy of a copy of a copy, it starts to degrade. You have to quality check the work that is produced by AI, because it doesn't always consider new information. So as much as AI is amazing and it's beautiful and can do miraculous things, especially for people with, paralysis, or with people who have amputees, and it's beautiful. It is a tool that I don't think will ever be, it will never replace humankind entirely. It will try. They've made movies about it. Of course, those are maybe prophetic in some way or another. But what are you and I always striving for? Whenever an AI answers the phone, there's a little bit of a letdown, isn't there? Like, I'm talking to a machine. I wish I could just talk to a real person. That feeling will always be there. And so it will never replace us. It's the tool. Yes, it's a valuable tool. Absolutely. It's just like the internet. It can be used for good, or it can be used for evil. But it will never replace you and I as human souls.
Absolutely. And just with, say, the Podbean I use, and you can pay extra just to get the AI in it. And I don't know how long I'm using it now, but maybe 2 years or a year and a half, not sure. But it gives incredible descriptions of what the show was about in kind of 1 to 2 to maybe even sometimes 3 paragraphs. And yes, there is errors. The names are wrong. There's my surname. They can never get it. But then again, it's probably my accent. But I mean, the numbers are just constantly going up, and I think it's helped it. The same with the title. I mean, I'll come up with a title, and I'll come up with a title, and I go, "Ooh, I like that," and then I start using that, and I mean, that show now it's 3 million with audio and video. It's insane. Like, and I definitely think it's helped me a lot by using it. But there's lots of times, especially with my awakening, so it stopped answering me. There's loads of them, and I've caught it out lying as well. So be aware of it. It lies.
Yes.
It lies. And it depends who's the programmer who's fed it all this information. It'll tell you the answer that you want. So just be aware of that as well. Don't just kind of regurgitate what you've heard from Alexa. What's this? Because a lot of people go on TikTok and they do that, and it's like, not necessarily. But yeah.
Yeah. I actually use it, to your point. I use it for when I record a batch of podcasts. I'll spend a day in the studio with a bunch of guests. I'll feed all of the transcripts to AI. So then I can go back and record the introductions, and it does a synopsis for me. It's great, but you're right. It will lie. And AI has a creator. What is the motive of the creator? What is the motive of the software programmer? What is the underlying agenda of the person who wrote the script? You just don't know. So fact check it.
Well, listen, second time around, different podcast, but thoroughly enjoyed it. You might let the listeners know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So MarianneHickman.com, that's my website. It's got everything connected in there, So whether you are a TikToker, or whether you are Instagram, or whether you're on LinkedIn, I'm there as well. I am most active on Instagram, and just text me. You can just send me a text, 801-509-5495. That's where I'm most active, just my phone in my pocket. So if there's any way I can help your listeners be a better podcaster, or get on more stages, or put a megaphone up to the mouths of people whose messages I can get behind, let's connect.
No, perfect. And I'll make sure I'll put the link of our first episode on the speaking podcast, because that's kind of lots of tips for people that might aspire to be speaking as well, that might help a podcaster. So I'll make sure I put everything on, both the audio and the video. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So that's all for the Podfather. You'll find all our episodes on podfather.me. As mentioned at the start, scan the QR code or go to icon.com. You'll find my 6 shows and everything else I'm doing. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, go to va.world. Sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rate, and share with your friend. Check out Marianne's podcast as well. Do the same. Until next week, take care.